"Do not play this video at night." The boy stood in the middle of the woods, barefoot and trembling. His eyes wide open but empty, like he was staring at something that no one else could see. The night was freezing, yet he didn't seem to feel it. His lips moved, but no sound came out. The police officers who found him shined their flashlights over his pale face, whispering to each other in disbelief. He had been missing for 2 days. And when they finally brought him home, the 4 friends laughed, but they couldn't stop staring at the tape. There was something about it that felt heavy, like it carried a secret. Chris, always the brave one, suggested they watch it right then and there. But Amanda shook her head. "No way, not tonight. Let's wait. Make it a dare." And so the dare was born. They would play the tape after midnight the next weekend. The following Saturday, the group met again. The old garage smelled of gasoline and rust, and the television Tyler had dragged out flickered with static as he adjusted the rabbit ear antenna. The clock on the wall ticked loudly as the minutes dragged closer to 12. Amanda fidgeted. Ben tried to joke to hide his nerves, and Chris was practically bouncing with excitement. At exactly 12:01 a.m., Tyler slid the tape into the VCR. The screen went black. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then came the sound of a low, humming chant, like a man's voice distorted. Ben yanked the plug out of the wall, and the TV finally went dark. For a long moment, none of them spoke. They were breathing hard, like they had just run a mile. Chris tried to laugh, but his voice cracked. "It's just a prank, has to be." They all agreed not to tell anyone what they saw. They promised each other it was nothing, that they were just imagining things. But deep down, each of them knew the tape was different. It wasn't just a recording. Something was wrong with it. Something alive. For a few days, nothing happened. Amanda tried to shake off the fear. Ben buried himself in homework. Tyler avoided the garage. And Chris kept pushing them to play the tape again, saying they didn't give it a real chance. But then came the first sign that they hadn't escaped it. Late one night, Tyler woke up to the sound of his television turning on by itself. Static hissed in the dark room, glowing faintly. He rubbed his eyes, his heart pounding. He swore he had unplugged the TV earlier. Slowly, the figure on the screen was moving closer. Tyler froze, his throat dry, his body refusing to move. The static flickered around the edges, but the center of the screen was clear. A tall man, his face hidden by shadows, took slow steps toward the camera, as if he could see Tyler standing there in the room, watching. The candlelight behind him made his outline sharp and eerie. Tyler's heart thudded so loud he thought it might burst. He reached for the plug again, hands shaking, but before he could yank it from the wall, the screen suddenly went black. Silence filled the room. For a moment, he stood there, clutching the cord, listening to the pounding in his chest. Then knock, knock, knock. 3 loud knocks echoed from his closet door. He spun around, terrified. The room was still dark, the TV lifeless. The knocks didn't come again. The next morning, Tyler told no one. He didn't even want to think about it. At school, Chris teased Amanda about being too scared to finish the video, while Ben kept saying it was just a messed up art project. Tyler said nothing, just sat quiet at the cafeteria table. The next day, the group gathered in the garage again. Amanda told them what happened, her voice shaking. Tyler hesitated, then admitted he had seen the man moving closer on his screen too. Chris tried to laugh it off, but his smile was nervous. "Come on, you guys are scaring yourselves. Let's just play it again. Maybe if we finish it, it won't bother us anymore." "No," Amanda said firmly. "We shouldn't have played it at all." Ben, usually the quiet one, looked at Chris and whispered, "But what if she's right? What if it's not just a tape?" They argued for an hour before finally agreeing not to play it again. They swore to each other they would leave it in the garage, locked away. For 2 days, nothing happened. They almost believed it was over. Almost. Then came the night Ben was home alone. He was working on a history project at the kitchen table when he heard the faint sound of chanting. First, he thought it was coming from outside. He turned off the radio, but the low, distorted voice continued. It was coming from the living room. His stomach dropped. When he stepped into the living room, Ben's breath caught in his throat. The footsteps in the hallway were steady, slow, like someone heavy was walking straight toward him. The glow of the TV filled the living room, painting everything in an eerie yellow light. His legs felt frozen, but his mind screamed at him to run. He turned his head toward the hallway. Me. The narrow space stretched into shadow, the walls lined with family pictures that suddenly looked strange and distorted in the dim light. "Hello," Ben whispered, his voice trembling. No answer. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, the house was completely silent, except for the hum of the TV behind him. He forced himself to move, inching backward, never taking his eyes off the dark hallway. Just as he reached the edge of the kitchen, the TV screen flickered again. The man was closer, much closer. This time, only half his face was hidden by shadows. The other half revealed pale, cracked skin like old stone. His head tilted sharply, as if listening. Ben's hand shook as he pulled the plug from the wall. The screen went black instantly. The sound of the ragged breath filled the garage. The four friends pressed against the wall, their eyes wide in the pitch-black room. Chris clutched the hammer again, but his hand shook so badly it clanged against the concrete floor. "Who's there?" Amanda whispered, her voice thin and broken. The breathing stopped. For a long moment, there was silence so heavy it felt like the air itself was listening. Then, with a faint click, the TV in the corner powered on by itself. Its glow filled the garage, washing their faces in pale light. The screen showed the candlelit room again. And there he was, the man, standing perfectly still, only this time he was no longer just in the video. His shadow stretched across the floor of the garage, long and sharp, moving toward them though he hadn't taken a step. Amanda screamed and ran for the garage door, pulling frantically at the handle. It didn't budge. Tyler joined her, yanking with all his strength, but the door refused to open. Ben kicked at the side wall, shouting for help, but no one heard. Chris turned back to the screen, gripping the hammer. "Leave us alone," he yelled, swinging it at the TV. The glass heart nearly gave out. The screen was glowing. The plug still dangled loose from the wall, but the TV was alive. The candlelit room filled the screen, flickering faintly. Amanda crawled backward on her bed as the man stepped into view, closer than ever. His cracked face fully visible now. His lips moved, though no sound came out. She pressed her hands over her ears, shaking her head. No, no, no. Then she saw something that made her blood run cold. Behind the man, in the candlelit room, were 4 chairs. And in each chair sat a blurry figure. Teenagers. Their faces were hazy, like fog on glass, but their clothes looked familiar. Amanda's chest tightened. One of the figures wore Tyler's red jacket. Another had Ben's baseball cap. It was them. The screen glitched, static ripping across the image. The man leaned closer, so close his face for Chris was gone. The police searched the woods for hours, calling his name, shining their flashlights into every dark corner. They found his bike, his backpack, and the ditch where he must have fallen, but no Chris. His parents pleaded for answers, but none came. The only thing missing from the backpack was the tape. Amanda, Ben, and Tyler sat together in Amanda's living room, the weight of dread heavy on all of them. Nobody spoke for a long time. Finally, Amanda whispered, "He took it. And now he's gone." Tyler clenched his fists. "We can't just sit here. We have to find him." Ben shook his head. His face was pale, his voice hollow. "What if we're too late? What if he's already in there?" The room went cold. The three of them exchanged nervous glances. Deep down, they knew the tape wasn't just an object. It was a doorway, and Chris might have walked straight through it. That night, Amanda couldn't sleep. She kept hearing the man's voice in her head. "You belong here." Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the candlelit room, the 4 chairs, the blurry figures that looked exactly like them. At 2:30 a.m., her phone rang. She jumped, fumbling to pick it up. The screen showed Chris's number. Chris,